doing things for the ceramics world that I think 5, 10, 20 years from now we're going to look back and be like, wow. Because he's traveling the country, he's building these robots in all these schools. That'd be like if somebody was traveling the country now and building wheels.
Yes.
Oh, what's a wheel?
Actually,
you're building a
we're
wheel.
going to have him to come over here to
Yeah,
build.
excellent.
Because I think that will know more about the 3D printing.
Yeah.
She's working with another teacher who teaches ceramic Friday.
I mean, yeah, it's just, and like he says, it's like filled with flaw. You know, it's like, there's nothing like, oh, you're just gonna set it and then go home and come back to some perfect thing. Like you gotta baby it. You got, it's a tool, and there's something really exciting about that. In its primitives, the most primitive way. I'm gonna throw just trying to check on time here, it's 2 o'clock. I think I'm gonna throw a picture, and then I'm gonna trim some things that I brought, and kind of move into surface a little bit. Does that sound good?
Good. Student would just do a project with pictures, so perfect.
Oh yeah? With pictures?
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, they have some already fired.
Nice.
So you can comment on them after you have the workshops. Yeah. So I think that would be related to them very much because they just finished a project with
Perfect.
pictures.
So I'm just kind of compressing, like I'm really hell-bent on compression. I have this wooden tool, and this is how I'll like...
Is that like a spoon that you just shave off?
Just a throwing stick. Just a
It
quick...
looks like a...
I didn't make this, but I'm just using it to compress the floor of the pot.
Remember where you picked that up at? Just the same exact...
Yeah. Why it's nice is you can get a really like the wall of the pot and the floor, right? I can just go right down the wall of this and get a really nice transition, right? Where there's not like extra clay, like extra meat in there. This will remove that. Because my finger's round, right? So if I go in there with my finger, but this has a little bit of a roundness to it, but it's mostly just kind of edge. And so this is like not quite 4 pounds, maybe 3 3¾ I like to weigh my clay, so that from piece to piece, I can be like, oh, I didn't get enough out of that one, or pick it up and even sometimes in their finished weight, like right after I put the handle on, I'll weigh it on that digital scale just to get an idea from piece to piece. Because the thing with a pitcher is, you're filling it up with water. It's going to be heavy, So you got to make it fairly light.
Do you have a problem with glazing when you have a piece that's so thick? You glaze the inside and wait for it dry, and then glaze the outside, right? Yeah, because it's saturated, so through inside and outside.
Yeah, no, I glaze the insides of everything one day, let it dry overnight, and the outsides. But I may, that's how I do it.
This is 4 pounds, right?
Yeah, a little less. Maybe like 3½. Guys, who has that torch that I could borrow? I think Gray had that torch.
Right,
You think I could borrow that?
Yeah, I'll go get it.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What kind of glaze do you use on the inside of the black piece? Is that black clay as well, or?
Yeah. Well, that's a black glaze on top of black clay.
Okay.
So that's why it looks so like jet. Yeah.
Wow. And it was cone 8.5 or
Say what? Yeah, it's the same temp.
the same dosage?
It's the same maturity temperature. Thank you.
Yes.
But I fire the black clay separately. I don't fire it with the glazed stuff
Okay.
because it can't, like the glazed pots need to soak and they need to fire much slower for the glazes to do what they need to do. And the black pots need to fire a bit quicker because if they fired at the slowness that the glazed ones do, they'll bloat. Getting technical, but what happens is the black clay off-gases a lot because it has a lot of manganese and stuff in it that makes it that color. And so what'll happen is when it fires super slow, it'll kind of vitrify and then it won't allow it to off-gas, so it'll bloat.
How fast do you cool down your pots?
Pretty slow, the glazed pots. I mean, I don't know the rate per hour, but I have a very new Bailey oval kiln that's like extremely insulated. Like I don't program a down firing. I would if it was a very loose kiln, because electric kiln results vary greatly depending on how they are loaded. The heat work has to find a way to the middle, right?
Right.
The elements are on the outside, so if you stuff it really tight, like I tend to always do, it takes a much longer time for it to get to temperature and to cool, which is kind of like the result I'm looking for, a really slow creep up and then a slow cool. I'm going to kind of keep collaring this and throwing. Well, actually, what I tend to do, and that's why I asked for the torch, with pots like this, and I really want to get the weight right on, I'm going to thin this bottom out to the point where it's where it needs to be, and then torch it. So I'm going to finish off this area and then continue to throw the rest of it. It's almost like you're coil building a little bit, like when you're building with coils and you're like need it to stiffen before you can add more. We're going to kind of go that route.
So this is your porcelain clay, right?
Yeah.
And you purchase from ceramic supply? Or you
I
mix
get
your
it.
own
It is made by standard. Yeah.
standard, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So you bought the existing clay, right?
Yeah, commercial, like that, like those boxes over there.
What's the number of it?
257.
257.
It's cone 8 to 10.
Uh-huh.
It's cone 10 clay.
Cause it looks really white to me. The one that I use was so yellowish, I don't like it at all.
Really?
Yeah. I don't even remember what the number is.
Yeah, maybe they probably
I was
is.
thinking about switching.
I bet you there's a lot of tile 6 in the body.
Yeah. I'm thinking about switching to like southern ice, the Australian one.
Yeah, oh yeah. Isn't that hallousite? That's not graulic.
I don't know what they use, but
Oh.
then it was so white, and then you can buy through cone 6
Oh.
and cone 8.
So nice. I know.
Ah,
Expensive though, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
almost $38 a box.
Where would you get that? High water?
I don't know. I have to
Oh.
ask around, but I'm determined to switch it to southern ice.
Yeah, this fires off a little on the yellow side.
But I think that the glaze, which is not that affected, but some of if you use just only clear glaze, then you see the clay bottom.
You're so right. Yeah.
Did you say you spray your glaze?
I don't know.
You did.
Yeah. I didn't say actually. But yeah, I did. Yeah, I use a lot of wax and latex, liquid latex.
For resisting?
the latex is to like you would, the latex is like as if you would use masking tape to protect the bisque. Yeah, to resist. Like, and the wax I'll use to put on top of glazes so I can put other glazes next to it.
I like latex rather than wax.
Yeah, I mean I think they're
But
just
they do
different.
frames,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it's just I want a crisp surface. Crisp. But wax sometimes it burns out, sometimes it doesn't, and then it heats up. So it creates different things, I have to say. But it's just a matter of the reason why we do wax.
So sometimes like I've got to re-wet the wall because like right now I've ribbed this and sometimes you can see like my hand is like getting hung up on the friction because the clay is dry. And so how I do that is I have these, you guys use these cosmetic sponges at all?
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, and one of the reasons they're really great is because like this sponge, will see how it's just dripping the water out of it when it's saturated? This sponge is fully saturated right now, but it doesn't drip, right? It holds the water. So I could take this and just kind of run it along the wall on the inside and the outside and just moisten the wall without a big puddle going down into the bottom of the pot. Because one of the main things that people have so much trouble with porcelain is because they have to use a lot of water, right? And porcelain has a really large particle size on a microscopic level, but what that means is that it takes on water quickly, okay? So the clay gets soft very quickly. So the more water you use, the more slumpy the clay gets, right? So I'm, every effort that I can to sort of work around that, I'll do it. So I'm looking for like a volumetric shape to kind of come in and then shift that volume to like kind of like a volcano shape or something, like anti-volume. Now before I torch this, because after I torch it, I'm not going to be able to surface it in this way. It'll be a little bit stiff. And basically I'm just hardening that shell. So it'll give me a nice stable base. This is such a clean torch. Gotta clean my hands a little. My torch at home is just caked with clay. Gotta get that going. Just start.
Yeah, I'm afraid of fire and clay. Just seems like something I want to.
They go really well together.
I know, but like slowly, not aggressively.
I was at a community college a month ago in Maryland, teaching a workshop, and I busted out my torch, and they were like, "You can't bring that here." So many regulations.
Ooh.
That scared me.
You can't hold it down too much.
Like that.
Yeah, it'll do that.
Oh my god.
Or maybe just this.
It's all right.
Too close.
Yeah,
Wow.
that could be good.
Yeah, I understand that the regulation too. We also have the regulations here as well. The fire regulation.
Yeah.
And so we don't do we're not allowed to use a visual flame.
Yeah.
Even though when we were
Oh, it's a thing.
even though when we are in the exhibition in the gallery, if you want to light a candle, you cannot.
You can't.
You cannot. Even though it's because it's a visual, you can see the flame. and then they will come by and ask you and take it away. So that we need to use like a fake kind of candles that flick.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and when we have a big discussions and with the health and safety about fire regulations. It's
Yeah.
a lot, yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot to manage. I can only imagine.
So I can understand that in community college that why they have so many regulations.
Oh, so many of them.
Ocean.
Not just OSHA also, but then the fire, because in the city, our school, it belongs to the city, it's not from us. So they have to work on based on the city rules,
Yes.
the city fire regulation rules. Yeah. We have more problem in the painting studio because of the turpentine.
It's still an issue.
Yeah,
Just like what, collecting it and getting rid of it kind of thing.
they wanted to.
So I think what's interesting sometimes about pots, like, is you can think about, and this is a simple thing, but like the directional shift, right? The way something can kind of be volumetric, and then it can kind of shift, and then be volumetric again. So that kind of like, changing planes and directions. Visually it can be very compelling. And it also allows opportunity for a handle potentially to work really well, right? Like, so I have this kind of curvature now that I'm starting to work on here, which is like the opposite of the bottom half. And if I put a handle on this, like your hand is gonna fit in there really nicely, right? And not be interrupted by a bulge from the pot, right? It's gonna be going the other way. So it's like the more you make things, the more you think about ergonomics and how you can, find a compromise. You don't want to be, leaning too far in one direction so that you're not making what you want to make. But it's a good dance to be part of. The thing that I like about collaring too is every time you collar a little, you can throw a little bit more, get some more height out of it, some more weight up. Just going to give this one last pull before I close it up. This is pretty much how I would throw at home. Like, I don't really when I demonstrate, I don't really change anything. Like, I don't work quicker. I tend to slow down because I'm talking. And I really want the work to communicate and to show what I actually do in my studio.
I find it like when I do a demo, it's not quite the way that how I usually work. Because the time was so, the attention, and then the students were looking at it, and then they always like an hour, and then they want to move around and do some other things.
Yeah.
But it was special because give you all the spotlight.
Yeah. I guess so. Yeah, it's different. Like, I don't really have a lesson per se that I'm trying to communicate right now,
Right.
other than just
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
also important too.
yeah.
To see that, like, if you're actually working in your studio, how you work.
Yeah.
Because the students don't see that part.
Right.
Yeah. They think that, okay, oh, that should go that fast. And I keep saying that, no, this is not, it's just a demo.
And I'm always amazed when I see like some potters who have been making work for 30, 40 years or something,
Mm.
that sit down and just, it's just such an ease, you know, and for me it's far more painful. It's like I'm birthing something. Can be beautiful, but it also can be.
But I think it's important to see how actually that's unique and unique. And,
Yeah, oh yeah.
yeah.
You know, just the notion that you can be an artist if you want to be. It's just a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
You know, it's like so many people go to school and they take a class and they think, oh yeah, but I can't make a living at this. I mean, that's the thing that's said. You know, that's it, and you can. You know, you just have to. And the other thing is there is no cookie cutter way to do it. Right? There's no path. Yeah, you could do a residency, or you can go to school, or you can be an apprentice, or you can do a whole host of things. You can work in your own studio. But at the end of the day, you still have to figure out a way to turn that thing you love into, you know, we live in a capitalist society, right? We have to pay the electric bill. So how do you turn the thing that you love to do not into something that's, you know, something that's going to turn something you hate to do, or something that's going to no longer be what you thought it was, you know, and you know, you adapt to it. Like one thing I really realized when I got out of graduate school, I applied for a few teaching jobs and I was a finalist for a few teaching jobs, and nothing panned out. So it was just like, okay, what do I do? Right? Oh, I'm a potter. That's what I do. Right? Like I went to school, I have a master's, and like I'm not just gonna like and I think I don't know if I never had a plan B just because I'm not a good planner, or because I'm stubborn, or just because I knew that if I didn't have a plan B, I'd have to make pots and I'd have to figure it out. And so I never had a plan B. And so I think not getting those teaching gigs, which was like, one was like in Texas somewhere, which would have taken me far away from family, and another one was like in San Francisco or something. You know, it forced me to like reevaluate what was important to me. And so, in some respects, I became a full-time studio potter by, you know, being rejected from academia, you know, and then kind of giving up. I wasn't rejected outright. It was just like I stopped applying for teaching jobs at some point. It was just like, this is where I need to put my energy. Because quite honestly, applying for teaching jobs or any job is work. Like, it's so much work. Like applications and interviews and just, you know, maintaining, you know, your resume and all these things that are so involved. And I still do all that stuff, right? I still maintain everything. I still have a website. I still record all of my accolades and things. And, but I'm still piecing it together. Like I have friends who are such good, like they have ledgers. Everything is like computerized. You know, all this information. It's like data is being taken. Like, and I'm just, I have a marble notebook. You know? And I work. I just go into the studio every day and I work. And somehow it's been working so far. It's been good. Like there's, like just on the real side of things, like there are months where we're like, I don't think we're gonna be able to pay our bills this month. You know, like, cause it is like that. There's no security, right? That's why you said, how many workshops do you teach a year? I basically hit like the time that I'm gonna be away from family, and I'm like, I'm done. But at the same time, teaching workshops is security. I know that I'm gonna go to a place and I'm going to be paid this amount of money, right? When I'm in my studio every day making pots that are going to be going off to the, whatever Demarest pottery show or some other pottery show or for an online sale for me, I don't know if I'm going to make $500 or $5,000, and so, you're throwing the dice a lot, right? There's a lot of just sort of, what's the word that I'm looking for? It's just belief and hope. I'm not like, just believing that what I'm doing will, end up being in someone's home, and they'll be, end up appreciating that, which will in then turn help me keep the lights on, right?
Reality.
Huh?
Reality.
And may I say something that you didn't mention?
Go ahead.
It's costly to make pots.
Very much so, and that's the other thing, like
All of the chemicals, the
getting out of school.
everything.
Yeah, I mean, getting out of school, was
Right.
one of the realities. It was like, oh, okay, like I can't make, like I used to be take a lot of pride in making my own clay, making it from a dry batch. And like when I left Penn State, I was like, I don't have a clay mixer. Those cost like thousands upon thousands of dollars to get like a Soldner clay mixer. I was like, I have to buy commercial clay, so I had to like figure out. Luckily, I bought a bunch of different types of commercial porcelain, and my glazes fit all of them. And so it worked out that way, and I really like this clay. But yeah, there's those realities too. It's like, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I have this glaze with all this tin in it. You know what? I don't think I'm going to use a glaze with tin anymore. Because tin is really expensive. I mean, those things are, realities.
So your wife also a potter or something?
Yeah, my wife and I met at New Paltz.
Oh.
Okay, like when I said that when I visited my brother, we walked into the ceramic studio and I walked in there. When I came back for my first, and was just like, oh, I'll take a couple clay classes. And quite honestly, full disclosure, when I was at Pratt, I took a basic ceramics class. Okay, and this was like towards my last semester there, so I was pretty much mentally checked out. I went 3 times to my first ever basic ceramics class at Pratt, and I got a B. I never went back, right? So there was something got messed up there, right? I should have got an F. I know I should have got an F, and I didn't care at the time. But when I got to New Paltz, I was able to skip basic ceramics because that credit transfer. Don't do this. But that's the irony of it. Very funny. And so I was able to just go straight to the wheel class and hand building.
Oh, that's why I was confused. Like, you learned to throw your first semester?
Yeah, because I was surrounded by really good people. Like my wife, she was one of the first people. Like I walked into the class, Mary was my teacher, and Mary said, the class is full. And I was like, okay. And I just like started walking away, and she's like, but wait, you're the only man. It was just a class of girls. It was like 20 girls. That's how New Paltz was. Like there were like very, very limited amount of dudes took clay classes. I don't know. Anyway, and she was one of the first people to introduce herself to me. And then a year later, we were dating. And so that was February of 2004. We started dating, and we've been married almost 10 years.
Wow, nice.
Yes, I mean, like, that's the thing. Like, it's like life is like that, right? It's so crazy, random. I'm really biding my time here with this, but I'm just noticing, just like a little lump right here. I just want to. Yeah, so my wife is like an excellent potter. Her name's Pam, and she,
What's your last name?
Peltzman now.
Oh, no. Peltzman now.
As of 10 years ago. It's just, she,
So you guys are working like a team in your studio?
No.
And she make her own different style of work?
Yeah, she makes her own very signature pots, and she hasn't made work in a while. Like, the kids are very time consuming, and like when we got out of school, out of New Paltz, we were finalists for a few things. Like, she was almost going to be a resident at Watershed for like, they used to have a long-term residency back then. They don't anymore.
Well, we used to always just only artists inviting artists in the summer, and a little bit, we don't have a long term.
But back then, I think in
Huh.
2004, I think there was a long-term residency.
Really? I don't think so because in the winter we're so cold up there. We don't winterize
Yeah.
our campus here.
Anyway, she was like a finalist for the Watershed thing. We were finalists to be Chris Gustin's apprentice.
Right?
And like, those things didn't pan out. And so, like if she went to Watershed, like our lives would have been very different. You know, we don't really like dwell on those things, but anyway, like yeah, we bopped around from thing to thing.
Yeah.
And then I ended up getting into graduate school, and then after graduate school, she was pregnant, and, you know, life went off in directions, and it was like, if I was the one who could have gotten pregnant, I would have. You know what I mean? Like, we are a team in that way,
Right, yeah.
in that, like, she's not, like, wishing, like, she could be in the studio right now. In some respects maybe, but like she also knows that the studio's there, you know, and she's gonna get to it, and the kids are what's most important, like right now, for her. Me too, but my work has just gone, you know, and she's never been keen on like attention, like nationally, like she always thought of selling her pots, but on a real like local level, you know, more so, like, yeah. So just bear with me, I'm just throwing a couple little more details in here.
I just
It's
love
all
to
just
watch
eyeball, right?
what you do work
What's
on
that?
the
It's all eyeball.
yeah.
Say what? I'm
It's
sorry.
all eyeballed, your
Oh, yeah.
distance.
Yeah, that last one was yeah, it's all eyeball, totally. I like to leave a little bit of human sort of error in there potentially. Because that's, I mean, quite honestly, like it's a search for like perfection that's exciting, but also seeing like the humanity in that, which to me is what's more exciting. Like do you guys know Agnes Martin's paintings at all? No? Well, yeah. So, I mean, like Agnes Martin was someone who, like, made these like very, I mean, I guess they could be categorized or described as minimal, but she wouldn't have said that. Like they were very gridded kind of paintings or drawings, you know, super stark, you know, but they're, and if you look at them from a distance, they might look like they're perfect in some way, but when you get up close, you can see all like the imperfections or like the humanity in them, I guess is the way I describe it.
But it's great to see how you pay attention to details.
Yeah.
And I think that is really important in your work.
Yeah, I don't, that's why I keep saying like I'm not a good business person. I know I've said that before, but like I don't care how long this is going to take me, even in my studio at home. Like I'm not thinking like, oh, I'm losing money right now, I need to speed it up. You know, I just, the work is what's most important. And feeling a sense of like satisfaction and reaching a standard. Which is sometimes hard when like my kids are like, I want to go play baseball. I want to go to the reservoir. I want to do this, and I'm just like in the studio like, you want 1 minute, you know, like just give me a minute. I can't stop. All Alright, so I'm gonna try to pull a spout on this without messing the outside up too much.
Watch. This way.
So you can see I'm kind of, what I'm going to do is, and I'm going to fudge it up a little bit, but I'm going to take my left hand here and kind of set it here so that when I pull this spout, I'm not deforming all this too much, right? Like these two fingers are going to stabilize it. And I'm just wetting my fingertip just a little bit, right? So I can kind of tease that clay. Right? So you see the start of that? And like even that little lip that I created here is gonna be the start of that, like so when I make a teapot or something like this, like how it pours is really important, right? Like if somebody buys one of these for like however much and then it dribbles all down and it's like a big puddle, that's not good, right? You know, and it just takes time to figure out the engineering of that, right? And how things, but it's basically gravity, right? Like you can imagine if liquid comes out of here right now the way that it is with this kind of rolled rim under here, it will wrap around and kind of dribble down. So
Oh, somebody got it.
and what I'm going to do is kind of just pull that a little bit more and sharpen it up. See that? Just kind of sharpen this a little bit, right? And now I'm going to pull that lip out even more so.
The foam is such a presence. So beautiful.
Thank you. See what I'm saying?
So it's basically kind of flat.
Not
No.
yet. It's not done yet. You mean like this?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. How about now? See, so it's not,
Right.
I haven't cut it off the wheel yet, so it's stuck down there, so I can still kind of give this a little tug, right? And just kind of give it a little more attitude. So before it was kind of diving this way, and now it just kind of gave it some more presence there. And now, without trying to mess up this banding too much, right? I want this here to kind of come out a little bit, and the reason is because I love the way that it makes these lines kind of undulate, right? But it also is a very functional purpose of channeling the liquid to that spot, right? Like giving it a little bit of a, I haven't come up with a good term, but so far I say throat. I think I gotta come up with a better term. What's that?
Adam's apple.
Yeah, well, yeah, like kind of like an Adam's apple, right? Yeah. You know, I love the way that these lines, and then when I push from the inside, really capture that stretch in the clay and like the plasticity in the clay, right? So I just took something that's like round here and just created some more angularity at the top, kind of took it out of that round a little bit. And then what this, like I had said earlier, so on these, you know, I've been making more pictures lately and really thinking about like the weight of these and like not only the weight of them physically, but like how the weight is distributed when you hold it, right? So and this is all new, but like 5 months ago when I was making these, because this looks like a really great spot to attach a handle to, and then this might be a great spot to end it, and then this being the negative space in here. But like what happens is when you put a handle up here, you're holding it here and all the weight is down here. So on these newer ones that I've been making, I've been attaching the handle here and making them smaller too. Like and this is all new, so I'm still thinking about this stuff, but like making this big sweeping handle, visually it's doing something. But again, like it's this compromise between something that looks good or looks right and then actually using it. And actually using it, I found that I really only need to make a handle that's big enough to fit like these fingers if I want to. So I started kind of tightening up the handle a little bit and making it kind of sweep in here a little bit more. Still end right here, but like almost like start here. So it's just kind of more compact and you're holding it centered here instead of up here where all the weight is like on your wrist more so.
I find that with pictures, very often they'll pour nice and gradually, but the bulk of the liquid is in the bottom, and then all of a sudden you get to a certain point and it,
Yeah.
because it's all down there.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think what you're saying, there would be more control.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it's all through practice, right? You know, you got to make pictures that pour like that. You got to make pictures that are heavy and, you know, to make ones that, you know, eventually do what they want to do. But like I'm saying, like I'm here teaching you all and I'm still figuring this stuff out. And this is the kind of thing that I would sometimes fuss with for a little bit, but I've also learned to just kind of like leave it. Yeah, no, but just like let it set up a little bit, right? You know, like I can go back in here with my finger, like once this is leather hard, and kind of do these things that I want to do right now, but I don't need to, right? Yeah. And one of the things that's nice about torching it, and when I like most often I don't, you see me like picking up pots and pulling them off. I've been doing that a lot more lately. I used to just pick up the whole bat and let it set up. I've gotten, I don't know if it's just more confident or, especially with this, because I torched the bottom of this I could just kind of pick up.